The NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBet. WynnBet is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBet has what you need to win. Bet $100 and get $100 at WynnBet.com or download the WynnBet app and start winning today. State restrictions apply. We're also brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast's Final Four watch party, April 1st at 7:30 p.m. The Sports Gambling Podcast crew will be at the Ice House in Los Angeles, so come hang out with the crew. All the info right now at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/icehouse.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. If you're watching on YouTube, you notice something a little bit different than what you're normally used to seeing out of this. Cody, I sprung this on you last night. I was tinkering around a little bit and asked you how you felt about it. Now that we've seen it live, how do you feel about it?
I like it even more in the live version than what you sent me last night. That was incredible. Like the new opening. If you're not listening on YouTube, just go subscribe to our YouTube because you should do that anyways. But yeah, check out the first 30 seconds. I watched a little intro. Pretty freaking sweet, Rod. Good job. Props to you there.
You know, I am not the professional at video that I tend to want to be. I'm more of an audio guy anyways because video is so time intensive. But you know, I was messing around a little bit and I thought, but this doesn't have a little NASCAR feel, but it's got cars. But I was like, I'm just gonna float it out there and see what everybody thinks. So obviously I'm not a pro at video, so you guys don't come at me with
you fooled me, Rod.
Anyways, again, this is the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. For those of you listening, welcome in again. We're so happy to have you. But do go check out that YouTube channel. It's growing. We're trying to grow it. The bosses really are putting an emphasis. As the NFL refs have points of what emphasis is, so do our bosses. So this is a point of emphasis this season for us, as that's a YouTube channel. So just go check it out. It doesn't take much time. Go hit a like, go subscribe, go ring the bell. All that.
And yeah, I mean, we've gone live a couple times. We've done our recaps on Sunday night the last couple of weeks. Probably will continue to do that whenever it works out for both of us. And so yeah, then you can join in the conversation and get notified when we are live. So definitely get over there and check out the YouTube.
You are correct, sir. Left and right turns are on the schedule for us this week as we travel to Austin, Texas for the Circuit of the Americas track. It is the first road course of the season. There's so many storylines going into this weekend, not just for the Cup Series, but obviously the Xfinity and the Truck Series. Cody's going to catch us up on some news here real quick as we head into this road race weekend. But I will tell you that if you are confused as to why this is the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix betting episode, couple of things. One, books are damn slow. I mean, we've said this time and time again. We've just alluded to the fact that books need to hurry up and put odds out faster. But they gave us plenty of Cup Series odds to work with this weekend. We're walking the fine line between two schools of thought here. One that I saw earlier that said just because the odds are out doesn't mean you have to bet them. But then there's the other school of thought that if there's value out there, grab it now and have some fun betting early, because you never know when these lines are going to move. And also find the bet, then find the odds. So what we're doing now is we're finding you the bets. We're finding you the best odds for those right now, but we expect those bets to get probably better and or not necessarily move all that much. So we're kind of giving you the best of both worlds on a Tuesday night. It's just that's a philosophy behind bringing you the Cup Series first. So we'll give you plenty of time in the week to get settled in and get those bets.
Yeah, and give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. But I think you're right on track there. I think there's a couple components to it. When the odds first come out, I know there's a lot of people, they want to jump on everything right away. And it's like, you want to save some of it. But there is also getting in on things early in the week before they get bet down, before the lines do shift. There's nothing wrong with that. Depending on the race, there's going to be practice, qualifying, and stuff that will change things. So I think that this week specifically, it's actually good to do it earlier, because we're going to talk about it. We're going to paint our picture, how we see things going, and give out the bets that we have now. And then I think that I'm going to leave room on my card for after practice, after qualifying, because I think that those are going to be more important this week than possibly any other week this season as far as placing your bets. But getting in on some of these now before we see practice and qualifying, you might get a lot better odds than down the road after Friday afternoon when we've seen practice and qualifying and the odds shift drastically. So there's many different ways of schools of thought there, but this gets it in your podcast feed nice and early in the week. Gives you a couple days so you can listen when it's convenient as well, and then get those bets placed.
And again, we're not just giving you picks. Like, I'm giving you contradicting stats to back those up. So it's important that you understand our research method, so that way when I tell you all of the stats and then give you the opposite bet, you know why. So and then, of course, as you go into your own research over the course of the week, you'll harken back to what Cody and I said, and you'll weigh it against what you found in your research, and you become a more informed bettor. You don't just pay for my picks and then come at us when we don't cash. That's
right. Yeah.
We're not bitter.
And then and we're going to get into it in a minute, but there's obviously some big changes here with the whole stages and everything. And that's going to affect how this race goes, how you bet on this race. And we're going to lay out the scenarios. You're going to have to decide which scenario you think is the one that happens, because that's going to be the one you're going to want to bet on. So it's great to follow our picks too, but we also like to help you guys be able to make your own informed decisions as well.
Just teach a person to bet, and they'll only cash when you cash. Teach a person how to make bets, and they will cash every single time. I think we need to make sure.
Wow. I felt like that came straight out of the Bible.
I don't have one around.
I think that was the next verse after the fishing one.
Burns my hands every time I touch it. All right, Cody, before we get started setting up the race in Coda at the Circuit of the Americas track, there is some buzzing news going around. I know one piece of news you're ready to get to. You posted it in the Discord. I'm sure that made the headlines, right?
It did. Okay, first I want to do quick history lesson. I know we've not done these a ton. We don't usually have time, but I wanted to make time for this one today. Sad news from this day, March 21st, 1997. John Nemechek was critically hurt in a crash at Homestead, Miami, actually on the 16th, but he passed away on this day in 1997. His brother, who was a Winston Cup regular, Joe, left the Darlington race and did not compete there. Phil Parsons subbed in for Joe. And then a few short months later, on June 11th of 1997, Joe's son was born and named John Hunter Nemechek in memory of John Nemechek. So that's where John Hunter gets his name from carrying on that legacy of his uncle, who tragically passed away in that accident. And then actually following that incident, Homestead was reconfigured into a true oval with a 6-degree banking to reduce the possibility of that type of crash that killed Nemechek again. And then when they came back there in the fall, Joe won the Busch Series race, Xfinity Series now, in November at that now reconfigured circuit. And so that it all kind of worked out in the ways that they could honor his brother. Obviously, Joe winning there. We saw the same thing 2001 when Dale Jr. won at Daytona, first time back after losing his father at that track. And then John Hunter, obviously born right after the death of his uncle, and that's how he got his name. So, but it was on this date in 1997 that John passed away.
That is definitely sad, although I did like Joe Nemechek for sure in that 01. And see, this is why you have to have beers with these guys, right? I mean, we always sit here and talk about why don't we like you? Why don't we like you? You find out these backstories and you're like, yeah, okay, I respect your journey. I respect who you are as a human being. So we need to have more beers with these drivers.
Exactly. Okay, on to the news section. We have some news. The biggest, obviously, you just alluded to it. Josh Williams, to no surprise, it was announced he is going to be suspended for one race. Honestly, I think this actually kind of works out. Perfect timing. Williams is not a great road course racer. So Alex LeBay is going to jump in that car. He's a very good road course driver. So it works out for the team. No fine. So Denny Hamlin's not on the hook for Josh Williams' fine. He was pretty good. He was on the Door Bumper Clear podcast this week with talking with the spotters over there on Dirty Mo Media. And it was cool to hear his story of, everything. And also he has, they're selling shirts on his website, which I tweeted this out. I shared it in the Discord. I retweeted it as well. It's pretty sweet. There's a lot going on, but it's got his car. It's got him doing the Taylor Swift heart hands. It's got him holding up the peace sign, all of it. And it says Park It Williams on it. Pretty cool. But the coolest part is all the proceeds from this official Park It shirt are going to go to support the organizations of the Josh Williams Hospital Tour. And there's a couple of different things included in that. But if you didn't know, this guy is a super good guy. And every week when they're in a different city at these tracks, he goes to a children's hospital, spends time with the kids, in his fire suit, comes in as a race car driver, does all that cool stuff, and does a bunch of charity work behind the scenes. I mean, not a guy who gets a bunch of publicity or anything. So he just does it out of the kindness of his heart and to give back. And so now that he's got this elevated platform, right, we see these things that catch people's attention and everybody wants in on it. So you can go buy a shirt now and the proceeds go to a good cause. So obviously kind of an underdog story. Everybody liked the story, had fun with it. Has to be suspended for a race. It's necessary, but he can still apply for a waiver to get allowed into the playoffs if he wins a race later on in the season. And there is a past, I can't recall who it was. Somebody was suspended previously, though, applied for the waiver and was granted the waiver. So even if they're suspended, they can still apply for the waiver. So, but no monetary fine, no point reduction, none of that, just the one race suspension for Josh Williams. And then go check out those t-shirts if you're interested in that.
Yeah, those t-shirts are pretty neat. And listen, now that I know exactly where the money's going to, I mean, that's why you do things like that, right? You grab that moment of attention. The keys are dangling in the people's faces enough. It's trending fast enough. You got to snatch that while you can and obviously give it to a good cause. But I mean, you had to know when he parked that car, no part of him was thinking he was going to get away with that without something. So I don't think he was surprised at all. I don't think this was anything, but I mean, look, man,
when you hear him talk about it too, it's, I mean, I don't think he even necessarily maybe meant to do. I mean, it's one of those things in the heat of the moment, and he was so flustered and there had been a lot of back and forth about, are you kidding me? Like, is this really the thing? They're checking with the officials. He had already slowed down and they're like, yeah, park it. And he was rolling up on the start finish line and he's like, fuck it, I'll park it. Yeah. And then it just kind of happened. I don't think there was a ton of thought put into it or anything. And I mean, really, so it is in the rule book, as we learned, right? That NASCAR, it's up to NASCAR, but they're allowed to make the call to park you if they want to. There had obviously been a ton of cautions. Things were not going the way that NASCAR wanted to. They were already pushing the TV window. And so I think that it pissed them off that there was another quick caution. All is literally off the car. I mean, that was it. So they probably should not have parked him, but in the heat of the moment, made the decision to park him. In the heat of the moment, he made the decision to stop there. Now we have t-shirts, a great story. It was on ESPN, all that fun stuff. So, they say no, what is it?
No press is bad press.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of the case here, I think.
Yeah. All right. What else you got, Cody?
Okay. 2 other things. They are putting the restart zone back to the normal length. They had extended it for the first 4 races of the season, 5 races, however many races we're in so far, but they had extended it. We saw the backup on the I-5 at Auto Club with that whole deal. That had been per the driver's request, but NASCAR's reviewed that and they said, yeah, we don't like it too much. So starting this week at COTA, that's back to the size it was last year. So it'll be back to the reduced restart zone going forward. And then obviously the biggest thing, and we're going to harp on this entire week of shows for all 3 series, there are still stages in these races on road courses, but there's no stage breaks. So as they come around to the end of the stage, the green checkered flag, whatever it is, will wave in the air, and whoever crosses the line first gets the playoff point, gets the 10 points, but the race continues. No caution flag. They're not going to close the pits. They're not going to anything. The race will continue. So for the biggest thing as far as betting this goes is it's going to change the racing in a massive way. Things are going to be completely different. It's almost hard to look at last year and how people did and what happened and even compare it to this year. We're going to have statistics from last year, and there's things we saw obviously throughout the 6 road course races we had last season in this car that we're going to be able to take from them. But things are going to be completely different. You're going to see different strategies. Everything is completely different. And the way that I'm going to probably view this and bet on this weekend is, and I'll be curious to see what you think, Rod, but honestly, I mean, for when it comes to the Cup Series, which is what we're talking about today, I think whoever is the fastest car in practice sits on the pole. I think they're going to run away early, and then it's going to be hard to catch that person. I think that if a Kyle Larson type gets on the pole up front, it's going to be really hard. I mean, we generally see in these road courses, somebody that starts on the front row goes out, leads most of stage 1 until right at the end of the stage, and then they'll flip the stage and go in, and then random people pick up the stage points every time because of the flip strategies and everything. And so I think that we're not going to see that because of that. And then I think not having these as many restarts scheduled at least is going. I mean, last year, how many times did we see these disastrous restarts and just bunching the field up, and a bunch of guys got taken out at COTA, a big one in turn 1 last season on one of the wrecks. And so I think it's going to spread the field out. That's going to lead to less cautions. There may still be some cautions, I think, because you'll have some incidents here and there. But I think it's going to lead to less cautions. I think it's going to lead to more people don't like to follow the leader, lots of green flag stuff. You might not want to watch this week because I think there's going to be a lot of that. It could look like a Max Verstappen F1 race at some point where guys are just running away with it. I mean, you get to the Truck Series, you got guys like Kyle Busch, guys like Alex Bowman in that race. How is anybody ever going to catch Kyle Busch when there is no built-in cautions for them to gain an advantage? I don't know. So pit stops are going to be important. Strategy might come into play depending on how tires are wearing, depending on fuel runs, depending on when cautions do end up landing. There is not, I mean, generally when we come into these races, everything is planned. We're going to stop 3 laps before the pit end of this caution or stage. We're going to flip it. We're going to stay out. We're going to get the stage points. Then we'll just fall to the back later. Everything is not going to be planned like that. Everybody is going to have different plans. There's going to be cautions that happen that change strategies. It's so hard to know what's going to happen. And it's been since 2017 that we've had stages. So you could go back and look at 2016, but it's a long time ago. A lot of things have changed. For the Cup Series, we're in a different version of the car, a lot of new faces. Back then, there was only 2 road courses, not 6. There's almost no comparison to back then. So it's going to be, we'll have to pay attention and see how things go this weekend, and maybe we can use that for the next 5 road courses. But I think that we see a lot of the stretched out green flag. Not a bunch of guys are going to be near each other, going to be less caution flags, a lot of green flag racing, but there's still that chance, right? You get down to the end, a caution happens, we go into overtime. Once you get into one overtime, that's a long ass laps. It takes a long time to get back to the white flag. So 3, 4, 5, 6 overtimes later, it could be the 50-1 that ends up winning these races. But in general, I think my strategy is going to be I'm taking a lot of guys near the top. It's going to be kind of a chalky week for me. And I think that we're going to see more spread out racing, less cautions. But there's a lot of different ways this could go, Rod.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. And that was the one, I think, handicapping thing that we need to take into consideration more than anything is that there's no stage breaks. And so what you end up doing is what I usually did, or what I did coming into this, was I took a look at like stage 1 of those races, because that's where you're probably going to get the most, because obviously the beginning of part of stage 1 and how they ran in the beginning part of stage 1 is basically what you're probably going to see for the whole race, short of a couple of pit stops here and there. When you bunch them back up, when those stage breaks aren't there anymore, that's how it's going to stay. I mean, there's not a lot of passing in this. We've seen it before with Sonoma. We saw it with Watkins Glen. Now, for me, the curiosity is after this race, will it change again? You know what I'm saying? Like, Will they say, okay, this didn't work because it did get spread out? Think about it this way. One of those COTA races was an absolute wet and wild slip and slide race, right? I mean, there was water that made that whole race more dangerous than it was supposed to be at COTA. It led to a couple of those cautions. It led to some pretty massive wrecks. There were 5 cautions, and 2 of those were stage break cautions there in 2021. There were 9 cautions in 2022 last season, obviously with 2 of those as stage breaks. So will there be a couple of instances of actual cautions that bunch the field back up? Yeah, because, I mean, we saw these cars when they do get bunched up and when they do kind of catch each other, maybe after a pit stop or maybe something happens that they kind of get in the general vicinity, especially on a couple of those turns where, they're going to get into each other. So does that happen? It very well could, but there's a lot of ground to cover in this track. And we could see potentially cars go 2-3 laps down to the leader.
Yeah.
Just because they're slow.
That's something you're going to see is cars actually getting lapped in a legit way on a road course, which is going to make a difference. You're not going to have that built in, somebody makes a mistake early, they end up going a lap down, but we got the stage caution coming up, and so they're going to get it back. There's none of that extra stuff built in there. And there are some really, really tight turns on this track. Again, this was the first track in the United States built to the FIA's grade for Formula One. And obviously Formula One goes down there for the I don't know what the Texas Grand Prix or whatever they call that one, but
it's the United States one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so when you get them bunched up, we see these guys, these cup guys in all 3 of these series. It gets the beating and banging gets so bad. It's almost embarrassing. It's so bad sometimes. And we've seen it at how many times in that turn 1 at Watkins Glen. It's that big sharp turn and they all just pile up and end up in the sand trap. And we've seen it a couple years ago at Indy Road Course, and just so many examples of that. And without these built-in cautions, once things get spread out, you're going to have different people pitting at different times, different strategies. Somebody catches a caution, somebody pits early enough. I mean, there are going to be so many different things that go into how this might play out. And it's going to be interesting to see. And another part of that too is that playoff point is sitting out there. Those stage points are sitting out there. And so some of these guys are going to want to make sure they're timing it up so they are leading at the end of that stage. And so somebody might still short pit a stage, right? And get that advantage by coming in early. And so it is going to be a lot of unknowns going into this for sure.
Which is weird because you kind of thought you'd have it pegged, and right. No.
We should, at this point, we're 6 races into road courses in the next gen. Everything should be easy, right? No, it's not going to be easy for sure. And again, I think we'll learn a lot from this one to take forward to the other 5. And not that all these road courses are comparable completely, but in a general sense, they are. So it'll be interesting. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on too, the loaded field for this weekend. You're going to have Jenson Button in the number 15 car for Rick Ware. He's a former F1 guy. That car is going to be prepared by Stuart Haas, so that's not your typical Rick Ware racing car. You're going to have Connor Daly in the 50 car. You're going to have Jimmy Johnson in the 81 car. Kimi Räikkönen, former F1 champion, going to be in the 91 Project 91 car. Who is in the number 9 car? Remind me. Jordan
Taylor.
Jordan Taylor. Yes, he's an IMSA champion, big Chevy Corvette guy. He's won a ton of street stuff. He's also, and a lot of, I've heard already some rumblings of an unfair advantage. He's a Garage 56 driver for Hendrick for their Le Mans entry. And so he's already got some practice, I think, on this track, even in it's not the same, but it's a pretty similar to the next gen car. And that number 9 car is generally the best car out there on these road courses. So it's going to be interesting. I'm hesitant to bet on any of these guys. I get there's some F1 guys. Räikkönen looked pretty good when he raced at Watkins Glen last season until he got wrecked out. But that's part of this that's different from the F1 guys. Those guys don't bump and touch. These guys are pretty rough. And these stock cars weigh a lot more than the open wheel cars do. And yeah, I mean, Taylor's going to be the one that in that 9 car, it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I still don't know that I'm going to find any way to bet on these guys. I think, is it Taylor and Räikkönen that are in a head-to-head against each other?
I think I saw that.
I think I saw that one somewhere, and I don't think either of us took that for just because that's kind of a who knows which way to go there. I was trying to find. I was like, man, I'd like to throw this out just because it's fun, but I don't really know which way I would go on it. So I guess you say you take the better car, but if Räikkönen's in a Trackhouse car, those are almost as good as Hendrick cars. So yeah, I don't know. Good luck if you want to pick a side on that, but a loaded field, so it's going to be pretty fun to see all of these guys. I mean, this is a star-studded field, in addition to your everyday Cup stars.
Yeah, and again, a lot of these guys are in high-quality equipment, so you're not putting them in total scrub cars. And so that's
because you're in a Hendrick car, you're in a Trackhouse car, you're in a Stewart Haas. That can be questionable depending on the day, but pretty elite cars.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start getting down to some bets, shall we? Let's step away for a quick break, come back, and we'll start setting up this EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. Well, let's tell you about WynnBet first. WynnBet is the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBet is now active in Massachusetts, plus the other tons of states that they're active in. Be on the lookout for the WynnBet Win Hour each Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. During WynnBet Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have better odds on WynnBet, giving you a larger payout opportunity. And March Madness still going strong. There's so many ways to bet on the big dance. So sign up today. You're going to get a special offer. You bet $100, you get $100. Limited to state availability. And of course, for you D-Gens only out there, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you're going to get a $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from, and all you got to do is head over to WynnBet.com or download the WynnBet app. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBet.com. Must be 21 or older. Present. Let's get play through. WynnBet is available. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. The SGP guys are going to be hosting a Final Four watch party at the historic Ice House in Pasadena, California, Saturday, April 1st at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Get all the details right now at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/icehouse. You looking to hang out with Sean and Ryan at Stadium Swim and watch the biggest golf tournament in the world? You should. I've hung with those guys. They're a great hang. Plus, they know how to give a guy a drink. So I'm just saying, it happens. You can win a 3-night stay at Circle Las Vegas to hang with the guys. Contest is completely free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/golf party. And if you don't win the contest, you can still get a discount on a room using promo code SGP15. Well, like we said, we're heading to Austin, Texas. It is the site of the Circuit of the Americas. It is the road course. It is a 3.41 mile road course. We're set for 68 laps around this treacherous track for 231.880 miles of up and down action, of left and right action, of driving off the track action, of trying to beat each other up action. I mean, we're in for it, Cody. These last couple of years that we've watched this race, it's unlike any other road course that I watch, because obviously between Watkins, between Sonoma, that sort of familiarity that we've had with those tracks over the years, you introduce Coda, like you said, it's an F1 style track. So there's hairpins. Obviously these cars don't have DRS. So we're not going to watch the back fly.
Not yet, anyways.
Well, yeah, we're close, right? The rear spoiler's not going to flip open, and they're not going to get within a second of each other. Right. But there's some very hard racing on this. It may end up getting strung out at the front, but I still think there'll be good racing in the middle, which is why we always tell you bet down the card and have some action toward the middle of it too. But I think we picked some good bets.
If we get to an overtime like we did last season, if you remember one of the greatest last lap battles in road course history, right? You think of you think of Keselowski, Ambrose battling out of Watkins Glen back in 2012, whatever it was. But this one is up there. You got Alex Bowman, AJ Allmendinger, Ross Chastain. They're beating and banging. Allmendinger gets into Ross, takes the lead. Ross spins Allmendinger, takes it, cashes our 40-1. So we did hit a 40-1 here last season. Just throwing that out there. So long shots obviously can win, right? But that's, and that was exciting last couple of laps with all that action going on, everything. But will we get that close racing at the end? Who knows? But that's the type of stuff that can happen if we do get that late caution, if we do get that overtime. So while I am going to be heavy on the favorites, I think you have to have a long shot or two sprinkled farther down the line too, because anything can happen. There's a lot of, in the past, it seems like when we've gone to road courses for a long time, it was you bet Martin Truex Jr., you bet Chase Elliott. One of those two guys is going to win every time. That was when we had the two road courses. Then we started expanding. Then we started seeing some more winners. But Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson have kind of been the class of the field. Last season, it ended up being Tyler Reddick. With this new car, though, we got some other people in there. Reddick obviously won multiple road courses. Trackhouse looked very good here last season. Daniel Suarez led from the get-go, led a ton of laps before he ended up, I think, losing his power steering or had some type of issue. And then obviously Trackhouse teammate Chastain ends up in victory lane. So there's a lot of guys that have become much better on road courses with 6 of them on the schedule. People are putting more focus on it, more attention to it. With this new car, I think it's helped level that playing field as well. So we're in for a good one, I think.
I agree. Well, let's get people some money, shall we? Let's start winning them some money.
Let's get into it. My first one, this is a fun one I found, and it's, again, one of the reasons you get in early, one of the reasons you're in the Discord. I shared this in the Discord not too long after it came out. It's already dropped a little bit, so make sure you're in the Discord so you could have already gotten on it at a better price. But there is an option for winner of stage 1 wins the race. Also an option for winner of stage 2 wins the race. Winner of stage 1 is plus 350. Winner of stage 2 is plus 325. I'm going to bet on both of these because without these cautions, again, like I said, I honestly think if a Kyle Larson, if a Kyle Busch, if a Ross Chastain, there's a few other guys, if they start P1, it's going to be go, and they're not going to look back for a long time. They're likely going to run all the way through the first stage and win that stage. And if you're fast, if you're good, we've seen how many times have we looked up and Elliott's got a 13-second lead at a road course. And I know he's not in this race, but we've seen it happen. And then there's stage caution. They flip things, everything. That's not going to happen this time. If a Kyle Larson has a 13-second lead, he pits, he's going to come back out with a 13-second lead still. He can continue to build on that. By the end of stage 2, if we don't have any cautions, he might have a 26-second lead. And then if it continues to go green, there's a good chance that he's going to just take it all the way home or whoever it is that's doing that. And so I think getting these at this price now is going to be easier than trying to live bet that driver later on. There's not going to be and this eliminates the random stage winners, right? So Kyle Larson comes out, he's leading, dominating. Well, then he pits with 3 laps to go. And, Eric Jones randomly wins the stage because he stays out once the playoff point. So you don't have that. So I think if you get somebody that's up front a lot in this race, if they can keep up front, they have the advantage of the no built-in cautions. I could see this easily going, especially the stage 2 one. Even if there's a caution somewhere earlier in the race, we get to where they cross the line in first at stage 2 and it stays green. Good chance they stay out front. So I'm going to bet both the winner of stage 1 to win the race at plus 350 and the winner of stage 2 to win the race at plus 325. Hopefully you cash at least one of them. Possibility you double dip and hit both of them.
Yeah, I was looking at that one as well, which I'm glad you got to that one because I thought this is such a fantastic little enticing bet, given the fact that you're right. The stage breaks are basically the cautions are eliminated. Just to break it down, there's 15 stages or 15 laps in stage 1, 15 in stage 2, 38 in stage 3, or in the final stage, obviously, till the end of the race. So all they got to do is lead those 15, right, in either one of those two and come back to win the race, even if they lose the lead at some point, if they just come back and win that race. And I think you're right in that it might even be just the winner of stage 2 that will go on to win the race more than likely, because after everything shakes out, if there's no caution, that long green flag run, if it happens, could very well determine who wins this race. So I do like the value in both, though, because you never know with this what it could be. And I love that bet a lot.
And if we end up getting that overtime caution, then all bets are off. Literally, I mean, there's not as great of a chance that happens because likely somebody's getting dumped. But in the event that it does stay green, which is kind of what I'm banking on with the majority of my card, I think that these are going to end up being really good bets. You're going to look back and be like, "Damn, that was kind of easy." If it plays out the way I'm hoping.
Well, if it
that's always the case, but
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I'm going to start mine out kind of a nice little swing here, and I'm going to take AJ Allmendinger as a top 3 car in this one. This one's coming in at plus 350. You know, you talked about it last time, how AJ was basically in an all-out battle for the win coming down to the last lap of this race. I think it was the last lap, right? The last and final. Yep. Like it was the final corners that this ended up happening.
It was like, the last 3 or 4 turns are pretty tight and short. And that's where these guys were all just leaning on each other. And I think it was Dinger got into Ross first, took the lead, and then Ross just straight up flipped him but turned him. And ended up.
I had AJ to win the race at that point. You had Ross. I had
Ross. AJ, yeah. Sorry, but I was glad to catch that 40-1. Hey, betting on Ross Chastain before it was cool.
Yep, can't complain. But for AJ Allmendinger, obviously we've talked a lot about his road course prowess in not just the Xfinity Series, but the Cup Series. I mean, this guy, you go back through the Charlotte Roval of last year, he finished 4th. Watkins Glen, he finished 2nd. Indy, he finished 7th. Road America, he finished 9th. Finished 19th in Sonoma. Finished 20th or 33rd in Coda here last March, but obviously we just talked about what happened there. He won the Indy Road Course in 2021. He finished 5th at the first Coda race, 7th at the Daytona Road Course, 7th at the Charlotte Oval. I mean, this guy is phenomenal when it comes to road racing in a Cup car. A top 3 finish, I'm not asking him to win. I mean, I would absolutely love to bet on AJ Allmendinger to win, but a lot's got to go right for that 16 car in order for him to be able to win this race. But I think, especially if the chaos that we are assuming is not going to be that prevalent is not, he's a good enough driver to get himself to the front and stay there. He's a good enough driver to qualify in the front and stay there as well. He started 7th at Charlotte, 6th at Watkins Glen. Of course, he's got here's where I contradict myself. He started 20th at Indy, 21st at Road America, 16th at Sonoma, 20th at Coda, 33rd at Charlotte, or at the Charlotte Roval. But he did 8th at the Indy Road Course, where he won, 3rd at Road America, 7th at Coda last year, 2nd at the Charlotte Roval the year before. I mean, he had a bad stretch there in between, but by and large, he's qualified in the top 10 in more than he hasn't in his career. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I believe AJ Allmendinger is going to be a top 3 car. I'll back that up also by adding on a Quinella that I found that I kind of I'm intrigued. I like this, right? Where you got to get the order. It's Larson and AJ Allmendinger, right? At plus 2,200. So 22-1 for Larson to win and AJ to finish right behind him. It could happen.
Hey, that's 2 of the best guys out there. I'm a little bit surprised that Allmendinger not as respected by the books as maybe you would have thought. He is. I mean, he's the true definition of a road course ringer, all-time winningest road course driver in Xfinity Series history. Going to be on the track Saturday in the Xfinity race. I'm pretty sure anyways. I should double check that, but I'm pretty sure he's in the 10 car. I think he's doing a lot of the road courses for them. But he's good. I have no arguments against him. I don't know if I see him winning, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does win. Another thing I wanted to point out too, we've talked about how Chevy seems to have had the advantage going into this season so far. Fords were fast last week, but like we talked about in the recap show, that can be deceiving with the super speedway part of things, and I don't think that translates going forward. If you look at the books, everything is pointing towards Chevrolet this weekend. Chevy is minus 145 to win. Ford is at plus 250. Toyota is at plus 400. You go through the odds board, and it's Kyle Larson Chevy, Ross Chastain Chevy, Kyle Busch Chevy, Tyler Reddick's in a Toyota, AJ Allmendinger Chevy, William Byron Chevy. Then you got Bell in a Ford. Then it's Suarez in a Chevy, Cindric in a Ford, Bowman in a Chevy. But very Chevy heavy at the very top. And they don't even have their best road course guy in Chase Elliott in this race. But I do think that it probably is going to be a Chevy race. I think besides the fact that they've got a lot of the better super speed or road course guys rather, they've also had that advantage early. And I think that you may continue to see that here on a track where it's not the super speedway package is just so different that doesn't translate anywhere else but the super speedways. So I like bets on Allmendinger as well. I knew you'd get some in there, Rod.
Had to find one. I wasn't going to bet him to win, but I had to get somewhere in there.
Okay, next up for me, Kyle Larson, top 5. This again, shop around. This is minus 110 some places, but I found it up to plus 135. Did I say top 10? I meant top 5 if I did, but Kyle Larson, top 5, plus 135. To me, I mean, this seems like a no-brainer. Larson is, in my opinion, without Elliott out there, clearly the best road course racer in the field. He's had some mixed results last season, so I will say that because, again, with some of the chaos of some of these races, and it's the same thing with Elliott, like, as much as we talk about how great he is and how much he's dominant, he didn't win any of the road courses last season, despite the fact that he probably should have won like 4 of them and got fucked in all of them. But without these, I really think that these no stage cautions is going to make a huge difference for the favorites in this race. I really think we're going to see that play out. So I think that Larson, one of the best drivers in the field, I think he's going to qualify well. He's in Hendrick, Chevy. They're going to be fast. He's going to start up front. He's going to keep it up front all day. Last season at this track, he got caught up in one of those big crashes in turn 1, ended up with a bad finish. That was the first race on the road courses in this next gen car. Everything was still kind of new at that point as well. So people were still feeling things out. He ended up finishing 15th at Sonoma, but if you remember, he led the first 26 laps from the drop of the green. Then they made a horrible pit strategy call. He got tied up in the back of the field. Same thing with Elliott that race. They both just completely fucked that up, and that led to Suarez winning that race. But then you go on to Road America. He ended up 3rd place behind Chase Elliott, not in this race, behind Tyler Reddick, who's not in the Chevrolet that's been fast this season that he was in last season. He's in a Toyota, which Toyotas, and I think we'll talk about this maybe a little bit more here in a few, but Toyota struggled a lot on road courses last season, way more noticeably than the other 2 manufacturers. And Denny Hamlin even made a comment on his podcast this week about poor finishes and that being more of a machine problem. So basically just completely throwing Toyota under the bus. But so Larson did finish 3rd behind those 2 guys who are going to be not in this race and in a different car. At Indy Road Course, if you remember, that's the one where either he fucked up or the throttle stuck or whatever the hell happened, and he blew through that corner and took out Ty Dillon in that scary wreck. So didn't finish that race. But then he dumped Chase Elliott at the end, won at Watkins Glen, which was a sweep of that weekend because he won in the Xfinity race as well. Then you went on to the Charlotte Road Course. That's where he fucked up his playoff run and got into the wall. But then you go back to the 2021, he was 2nd at Coda, won at Watkins Glen, 3rd place at Indy Road Course, won the Charlotte Roval. That was Larson, the road course racer up front in every single race. Last season, again, it was new with this new car and stuff. He was trying to figure some stuff out. There were some bad scenarios, but I still think he's the best out there and in the best car. We talk about that every week. And I think that these no stage cautions is going to help a lot. If we get into an overtime or a late caution where everything gets bunched up, everything's off the table. Anything can happen at that point. But if it doesn't go that way and it stays green, it's going to be a huge advantage for Larson. I think getting him at plus money for just a top 5, he doesn't have to win this race for this. He doesn't have to finish in the top 3, just in the top 5. I think that's more than achievable if he doesn't get caught up in something. If it's just him racing, he is easily a top 5 car, the best car in my opinion, but easily top 5. So at plus money at plus 135. I'm hesitant a little bit on road courses like I am on super speedways because shit does get so crazy sometimes. And that's cost me before Elliott should have won a couple of those road courses last season where I was fairly heavily invested, and then the late shit happens and you get fucked, and then it pisses everybody off. But this is the one I'm feeling the most confident in. Larson should be up there all day, barring any catastrophes.
In F1, we always tell you, especially with Max Verstappen, it's like, look, if you can find any plus money bets on him whatsoever, take those. And Larson's the same way on a road course. We've just seen it so many times where he will just be up front. And we saw it in Sonoma. We've seen it in Sonoma several times over for him anyways. And it's just, I don't know. I think you're right in the assessment that he is going to be by far and away the best road course car out there. Everybody's going to be trying to catch him. This is especially if he does qualify well. And even if he doesn't qualify well, I think even if he's in somewhere in the top 10, whatever it is. And honestly, this top, you said top 5 bet. Yeah. Top 5 bet, it covers it if something weird happens, right? We saw it with F1. Max Verstappen did not win the race. Right. And so if you had him on podium, you won, and it's just a matter of finding out where to get the best prices for the guys that are going to be the absolute favorites. So I love this. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to a sneaky bet. And this is one where I found the bet and then found the odds. I'm not thrilled about the odds. I don't like minus 120.
Top 10s are rough this week. They've been giving us some gifts the last few weeks, but a little bit tougher this week.
Yeah, they tightened up from their super speedway generosity. Now they're giving us back to normal odds here. But I'm looking at that 17 car, Chris Buescher, as a top 10 car in this race at minus 120. The books seem to think that it's going to happen too, but Chris Buescher's been sneaky good lately on road courses. You go back to the Charlotte Roval last year, he finished 6th. Watkins Glen finished 9th. Indy Road Course, he finished 10th. Road America, he finished 6th. Sonoma, he finished 2nd. If you're keeping score, that's 5 top 10s in a row on a road course. Now, what happened at Coda? Rod's contradicting himself with stats. He finished 21st, but unfortunately, I don't think
you can't take that bet. Something bad happened.
Damn it. That's what happens. But the Charlotte Roval, he finished 3rd. Indy Road Course, he finished 12th, just outside of the top 10. Look, he had a good stretch last season of top 10 finishes at a road course. And yes, that 21st place notwithstanding, anything can and will happen on road courses. The first road course on Coda that he ran, he finished just outside of the top 10 at 13th place. So that's not too far away from a top 10 finish. He's figured stuff out. He had a hell of a run to finish the season on road courses. I think Chris Buescher is going to be a fast car. We've talked a lot about Chris Buescher this season. We've talked a lot about that RFK team and how fast these guys have been and how good their cars have looked. And, Ford's got that aerodynamic super whatever they've got going on for them, whatever that is. But again, Chris Buescher's been around the front. He had a 4th place finish at Daytona, a 13th place finish at Fontana, 21st at Las Vegas. Oops, there's a stat that but a 15th place at Phoenix. That's not bad for the 17 car. Generally speaking, that's pretty damn good. He's been in around the top 10 for most of the season. So give him a road course, give him someplace he's comfortable. I think he can get this accomplished. I really, truly feel like he's a solid road course racer, and a top 10 finish for him is not out of the realm of possibility. And I like putting a bet on him. Like I said, I wish it was a little better odds, but I still think this one's going to cash. So at minus 120, give me Chris Buescher as a top 10 car.
I was told I'm not always supposed to agree with you, so I will pinch in the opposite side of this potentially. The one thing that scares me about this, he does have the good finishes. He was really, really good about flipping the stages and then not giving up the positions. Can he go out and hold his own throughout an entire race without those built-in cautions? That'd be the only part that scares me a little bit. But The track record is there. He's gotten the good finishes. We know he's pretty decent at these road courses. He seems to have it figured out. So I do like it from that angle. So yeah, it's not, I don't super love it. I've heard a lot of people already on Buescher this week, which always scares me when a bunch of people are on like one. That's why I was so hesitant with Corey LaJoie even last week, because it was like there was enough people that were on him that I'm like, I don't like this so much. But
so
but,
people are on him. See, I don't listen to anybody right away. Like I
try to limit my listening to people, but sometimes I see things or hear things and it's like, okay. But that would be my only counter argument to that bet is if he can still do it without the stage flipping angle of things. But I think he's a good enough driver. He's proven enough that you can probably trust that. Next up for me, of course, these guys had to go head to head, right, on a week like this. Tyler Reddick head to head versus Kyle Busch. Obviously, Kyle Busch in the Toyota last year. Toyotas did not do great on these super, or these, what do I keep saying super? I got to get off the Atlanta mindset. They didn't do great at the road courses. That 8 car was arguably the best car all season on road courses. It was hooked up. Tyler Reddick killed it, ended up winning 2 road courses, and had a great run throughout all of them. So now this season, the roles are flipped basically, right? Kyle Busch is going into that 8 car. We've seen it early. It's translated. That 8 car is just fast and they're good. He wins right away. He looks good in a bunch of races, leading laps up front. And Tyler Reddick has struggled in the transition to Toyota. Now we're going to where the Toyotas, and even admittedly by them, struggled a lot last season. Christopher Bell did win the Charlotte Roval, #cardboard gate, in a Toyota towards the end of the season. So yes, I know a Toyota did win one of the road courses, but Toyota was obviously much worse. I mean, guys like Denny Hamlin, guys like Kyle Busch were consistently running in like 30th place, just running back there, not even wrecking to get back there. So that it's going to be interesting to see if Toyota has upped it. And Christopher Bell, I think, was the one shining example. Maybe it's just because he's such a good road course racer. And so maybe Tyler Reddick can just overcome that, and we'll see different here. But you know me, I got to take Kyle Busch in this side of things. Really like him. I like him this weekend as well. And even here last year, despite the Toyotas not running great, at the start of overtime, Kyle Busch was in 7th. He had worked his way up into 5th before he got spun out, ended up with a bad finish. So the finish not necessarily reflective of how he was running. And then later on in the season, he did finish 11th at Indy. Again, there was some chaos there, and he did finish 3rd at the Roval, which was in the playoffs, which was when, I mean, we basically thought they were giving him like dummy cars or something, and half of them weren't even like going a third of the way into the race before they would just fall apart. So he is, and he's gotten road course wins before. He's been pretty decent over the years on the road courses. Not one of the elite guys. Look at guys like Martin Truex Jr., who was so good for so long on those. Guys like Jeff Gordon back in the day and stuff. Tony Stewart, those guys really stood out. Kyle Busch, not necessarily to that level, but always been a solid road course guy. Now you put him in the car that was one of the best last season on these tracks. With the way he started this season off, things have been going well for him. I think they're going to continue to go well. Those Toyotas scare me. I don't have Tyler Reddick. He's the one who could prove you wrong, right? And maybe Christopher Bell too, but he was really, really good on him last year. But was that a great car and a great driver? Now you have a great driver, but not as good of a car, where even guys like Denny Hamlin, you know, with the machine comment, it was the machine holding us back. Maybe Toyota has fixed things. Maybe they really focused on this in the offseason. I don't know. We're going to have to see, but I have way more faith in Kyle Busch than I do in Tyler Reddick. And again, all he has to do is beat Tyler Reddick to cash this one at -120. So I'm going to take Busch in the head-to-head.
All right. Well, we'll argue about that one in a little while. I'll make my case for the other side of that later on. Can't argue with Busch though. Obviously, you know that, like you said, that 8 car was fast. It did win a couple of races on road courses. So we'll have to see if Kyle Busch can keep it together and actually go through and go through the whole thing and win. All right. I'm going to go with one of those Toyotas over a Ford. I know I just talked about Buescher and the RFK cars getting things figured out, but now I'm going to contradict myself because that's what I love to do. I'm going to take Denny Hamlin over Brad Keselowski. This one's at -115. And for this, all I literally did was just take their road course averages and factor in the fact that Denny Hamlin has an average finish of 12.9 in his career, well, not in his career, but since February of 2020, over the last 15 road course races, a 12.9 average finish. Brad Keselowski, 18.1. That says it all for me right there. That is a 6-place gap. I know Toyotas aren't good, but Brad Keselowski has not necessarily been the best on road courses, and neither is Denny Hamlin. Let's not mince words. He had a 13th place finish at the Charlotte Roval last year, 20th at Watkins Glen, 14th at Indy, 17th at Road America, 31st at Sonoma, but I think that, had more to do with anything that back then. And then 18th at Coda. But you look at Brad Keselowski last season, 14th at Charlotte, 19th at Watkins Glen, 20th at Indy, 33rd at Road America, 10th at Sonoma, 14th at Coda, all in that 6 car. Have they got things figured out a little bit? Yeah. Are they a little faster than they were at this point last year? Now, yeah. But I will tell you that Denny Hamlin is an experienced driver. He may be driving equipment that he's not 100% thrilled with, but I still think he's a better overall driver than Brad Keselowski anywhere. And on a road course, obviously those average finishes. And again, that's really all I took to handicap it. I wasn't trying to go too deep into that because, again, it's just a matter of where they finish in these road courses. And now with no stage breaks, I think that favors Denny Hamlin more than it does Brad Keselowski in this.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think, we talk about watching all up and down the leaderboard, and I think you'll be watching the battle for 20th on this head-to-head. So, it'll give you something to watch back there.
I agree.
I'll let you take this next bet, Rod. I want you to lead off on this one.
Okay, Cody's gonna actually give you hard facts, but I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you 2 things that I love about this next bet, and that's Jimmy Johnson over Ty Gibbs. I'm taking the Jimmy Johnson side of this. Surprise, surprise. At -110. Is he in Hendrick equipment anymore? No. Is he, in the world's best equipment? No. Has he driven a stock car in a while? Yeah, he drove in Daytona, but not on a road course, and it's been a very, very long time. But what I'm really weighing this on is that he just spent the last year as an IndyCar driver. All he did was run road course type races. Now, granted, it was an IndyCar, but the feel of a road course is almost, I think, the same. The mindset of a road course is the same. Jimmy Johnson is a 7-time champion. If anybody's going to beat a rookie, I know, Ty, I know you're about to give me all of these spectacular stats of why Ty Gibbs is the world's greatest road course racer, Cody. I know you're going to paint this wonderful picture of a kid that knows exactly how to take a Sunday drive through a Texas city. But I'm telling you, this chiseled veteran is at least going to finish 1 spot above this rookie who's going to be driving for the first, he's going to be driving a stock car in the road course in Coda. And I don't know. For me, it's just give me the veteran over the rookie.
How many times have I bet on Ty Gibbs in the Cup Series so far, Rod? None.
That's a big fat goose.
0. None. I didn't. Okay, I bet against him once in the season long win total, 1.5. Most ridiculous line I've ever seen in my life. This might be one of the second most ridiculous bets I've ever seen. Why are these two matched up head to head? I have no idea, but this is not even close. I love Jimmy Johnson. Huge Hendrick fan. Huge Jimmy Johnson fan. Love the guy. 7-time champion. I think he's probably the greatest driver ever in NASCAR. But that's in the past. This is now. And this is not even close. It's going to be great to see him back out there. You love to see it. He's going to be mixing it up. We're bumping shoulders with these F1 guys. And that's great. Yes, Ty Gibbs is a rookie. Yes, he's young. He did start half the season last year in the Cup Series. Had a couple of road course starts in that. In only his second career start in the Cup Series, he finished 17th at Indy. That's not bad. That's perfectly fine. I think a 17th place probably beats Jimmy Johnson. I hate to say it. 26th at Watkins Glen. Things got a little hairy there. 22nd at the Roval. That wasn't super impressive either, but that shows me at least it's 3 consistent finishes in his races there. His very first career start in the Xfinity Series, fresh 18-year-old kid comes up, smokes the entire field. I think I had him like 50-1, 60-1. This was pre-podcast days, but that was a beautiful day. I fell in love with Ty Gibbs that day. I sort of fell in love with him last season, but no, it was great and just smoked the field at Daytona Road Course. RIP to that place. But then he's been really, really good at road courses in the Xfinity Series. I'm not going to rattle off all the stats. It's a lot of wins. It's a lot of second places. It's a lot of top fives. He's a good road course guy. And Jimmy Johnson, again, I love him. Never was a great road course racer. He was always fine. But it's been a couple of years since he's been in a cup car on a road course. This is the next gen car. He does have the garage 56. Is it 56, 65? I think it's 56. He is one of the drivers for that, so he has had some testing time in that. Again, similar to a next-gen car, not completely, but it is something. Yes, he did IndyCar road courses. I guess he was getting practice laps at the back of the field, so good for him. But I don't like to hate on Jimmy Johnson, and trust me, if you've listened to this show, I don't want to bet on Ty Gibbs, but this is an absolutely ridiculous matchup in my opinion, and it's not even close. It's easily Ty Gibbs for me. I have no faith in. And again, what's this Legacy Motor Club? You gotta put your pinky up when you say that, I think.
Gotta smoke
what's what how good are these cars going to be? Eric Jones had some good runs last season, but he had good runs everywhere last season and hasn't this season so far. I don't know. I'm just not sold on it. And in my opinion, at this point in time, Ty Gibbs is a way better road course racer than Jimmy Johnson is, and I just don't think Jimmy's got it at his ripe old age.
Boy, you're hating on the old guys. I know this,
and I think they put this out there. I think they put this out there because a lot of people love Jimmy Johnson, and they're like, "Who's somebody we can pair him up with that's going to be sneaky good enough, but people will give us their money on Jimmy Johnson?" And they got you, Rod.
Hey, listen, I'm okay. Hook, line, and sinker, baby. Give me that. Give me that 84. I'm with it.
So that's each of our next bets is taking either side of that. It is -110 for your side. I'm paying a little extra, -120 on Gibbs, but like we know, only pay the juice if you lose, which you won't do if you bet on the Gibbs side of things. So, sorry, Rod. I know I hate to do it. I love you, Jimmy, but just facts are facts. Next up for me. We couldn't go a show without finding a way to bet on Kevin Harvick. Absolutely. A couple plus money bets here on him. Top 10 at +155. Top 4 at +800. Like I said, top 10 odds, not super great here this week. But I was surprised to find him at plus money. So I figured that was good enough for me. You go over to the Ford side of things, and Ford does not have a bunch of road course guys that are super great. And so I think that lends into the Harvick side of things. It's almost like you just throw a dart, you pick one of these Ford guys, and you can kind of make a case for different guys, but Austin Cindric is actually the favorite to be the top Ford, which kind of goes to show you something. Now, Cindric has a road course racing history, was great in the Xfinity Series, had pretty good runs last season, but nothing spectacular, wasn't necessarily battling for wins or there at the end of any of these. Ryan Blaney, he's won before on a road course. Can you trust Ryan Blaney to do anything at this point? No. Chase Briscoe, I don't know if BJ McLeod is right here by this or what, but he's not done much. Okay, he had a good run last week at Atlanta. Give him that on the Super Speedway, but he's been hanging out with BJ McLeod the rest of the season. Then it's Kevin Harvick. Then you got Chris Buescher, who you made a case for, and I think there's a solid case for him. Joey Logano, again, he's hard to ever bet against, and at +650 for Joey Logano might be worth taking a peek at. His road course history is so up and down. That's him everywhere, though. We've talked about that before. He's so hard to bet on because he can dominate races like he did last week, and then he can show up and run 20th all day, and it's like, what the hell? So then you got guys like Brad Keselowski, Michael McDowell's okay, and then it really falls off from there as far as the Ford guys. So I think you're getting solid value, and let's see, I think he's +600 on this one. So again, shop around because I found him at +800. So I feel like that's pretty good for top Ford. And then throw in the top 10. Looking back at last season, he was 11th at Coda in the race here. Again, there was some chaos that cleaned a few drivers out in front of him. So, you got to take that into the factor. But 4th place at Sonoma, 10th at Road America. I got caught up in it in Indy, but then 12th at Watkins Glen, 2nd at the Roval in the fall. So not all top 10s, but on the 6 road courses, he had 3 top 10s, so pretty good. An 11th and a 12th in there. That's right near the top 10. So at plus money, again, he's a top 10 machine. I don't feel as comfortable on the road course as I do, at Phoenix specifically, or any of these other ovals with Harvick. But he's good everywhere. He continues to show why we bet on him week after week. And had to find a way to get him in here. And I feel like there's really good value on the top forward part of things.
Yep. I mean, again, this is his last run around Coda, so you got to try to go out with a bang. And for him, that's probably a top 10. I mean, that's not necessarily going for the win. I don't think he's thinking that he's going to win, but I think he does want to get somewhere near the front and inside the top 10. And I think by proxy, he's always been one of the top forwards anyways. So, what better way to parlay those than to throw them both together. So, all right, my next bet, a winning car bet. I like the value on this because, in fact, spoiler alert, 2 of our drivers that we picked are actually over this number, and that's 30.5. So this is coming in at plus 225. The names are not sexy over 30.5, and it's mainly because you have Justin Haley, Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland, Ryan Preece, Noah Gragson, Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse, Connor Daly, Cody Ware, Ty Gibbs, Ty Dillon, Josh Bilicki, and Daniel Suarez, Jimmy Johnson. But I will say, Daniel Suarez, right? We saw him win on a road course. So there's one win right there.
And he was
Tyler
really good
Reddick.
here last year, too.
And
He
was really
dominated
good
the first part of the race until he had that issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he led basically almost that whole first stage, in fact. Yep. And so that's one win there. Tyler Reddick, we talked about him. 2 road course wins. He's in the 45. I totally understand that. We'll talk about that more in a second. But the fact that he's still a good road course racer and has a little bit of momentum behind him. So that is a good pick right there. Alex Bowman, another solid car in that camp. And then you've got wild cards that you could say maybe Ty Gibbs does figure out a way to be a ridiculously good racer. Maybe Michael McDowell pulls a super speedway and runs on a road course. There's a little bit of ways that you can kind of sneak one in there as well. But I think those 3 cars that I just listed off, in Suarez, in Reddick, and in Bowman are 3 of those heavy hitters in that. And I think they all, and this is a way to hedge too off of the top of the field because you don't have Elliott there right now. You don't have the 9 car anymore. I mean, you have Chastain, you got Larson, and you've got Busch up there in the top. Like if you're going to go 10 or under, but the middle of the field is sort of blah, from about 10 to 30, you're just like, meh. William Byron, maybe he's in Hendrick equipment. AJ Allmendinger, I'm okay with that. I mean, because I don't think he's going to win, but he could win. Ryan Blaney, we talked about him a little bit. It just gets kind of muddled. But then I think you got 3 solid options past 30 that should one of those hit, it's pretty decent money at plus 225 to just throw something on.
Yeah, you made a pretty solid case. I was trying to find, I don't know where I saw it. I can't find it. There is one that's 0 to 9. I almost added that because I really like, you get Ross Chastain, you get Kyle Larson, you get Kyle Busch, you get Jordan Taylor too, if you're interested in that. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of value here on this one where you called out at is it 30 plus? So I like this one as well.
Yeah, it's a tough one to swallow, but it's also, I think, a good little hedge just in case one of those top over 29 cars do hit, and you're sitting there with a winner that's outside of that, and you're just like, well, shit.
Yeah, and we're about to give out a couple of guys that are under that number, and so if you're betting on them, again, like you said, a good way to hedge if one of those chalk guys doesn't necessarily get it.
I love it. All right, well, let us go ahead and take another break, and we'll come back and give you our race winners. Kind of already given you a couple of hints as who they're going to be, but we'll hit those up as soon as we get back. But before that, let's tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is heating up for March Madness, and College Pick'em is a great way to get in on the action, especially if your bracket is busted after day one. Plus, Underdog Fantasy is your favorite college basketball player props. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, thank you. We love you for that. Hi, no Corey LaJoy face this time. We'll get back to that soon enough.
He's over here
but I will
waiting
say,
for Talladega.
it's never too far away from us. I'm sorry, Cody. I had you muted.
He's over here waiting for Talladega. He'll make his next appearance then.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, the bosses tell us to continue to tell you to like, to subscribe, listen. And for the podcast listeners, go ahead and leave us a review. We would absolutely love for that to happen, because that's how the bosses know that you're paying attention to us and that they want to keep us on the air for you. It's the easiest way to support this show. Just drop a quick review. And of course, the same way on YouTube, leave some comments, leave some likes, leave some subscribing bells and whistles, and I don't know, send up a flare. Let us know that you're watching us. But yeah, we see you out there. We see you watching, and we're appreciative of it. So continue to do so, please. All right. People are going to win this race. Yeah. They're going to cross the finish line first, and we need to identify who we think is going to be the winner. So Cody, I'll let you, as always, queue up your winners first.
Well, I was hoping you would take one of these guys because I didn't want to put both of them in here, but I'm going straight to the top of the board. Here's how I'm going to play the winners. I'm going to give out these three guys. I'm going to bet them all early in the week as we speak now. Then I'm going to watch practice. We have an extended practice. I think is it 90 minutes maybe on this one. It's a long practice. So we're going to learn a lot from practice. And this is the type of track where practice and qualifying matters a lot. Like what we learn in practice and qualifying is going to drastically change the lines. That's why I want to get on some of these guys now, but it's going to teach us a lot as well. So I'll probably add one, potentially, unless these guys are at the top of the board, like I hope. Potentially we'll add one more guy if somebody else pops up, if it's a Ross Chastain, if it's AJ Allmendinger or something, one of these guys we don't pick, spoiler alert, that is, ends up being fastest in practice, qualifies on the pole, might sprinkle on them depending on how much their odds shift. But these two guys, if they're fast in practice, if they're fast in qualifying, you will not find them at these odds after that time. So getting in on them early. Kyle Larson, plus 650. He's the favorite at the top of the board. Kyle Busch, he's the second or third favorite most places. I'm taking both of them. He's at plus 800. I don't go chalky like this too often, but I feel like of all weeks, this is the week to do it. If things go according to plan, again, it's got to stay green, I think, for these to really have the best chance. But if it happens, you're going to look back and be like, wow, the value we got on these guys. And when we go to the next road course and Chase Elliott's back by then, and we saw these types of guys dominate this, you might not get odds like this again at other road courses. And I think that could be where this goes. So we'll see. But Kyle Larson already made the case for him earlier. Kyle Busch already made the case for him earlier. Plus 650, plus 800. Also, while Rod was reading that read there, I was looking and Truck Series winner bets at least have dropped finally. Kyle Busch is plus 155. I would go hammer that. If you're in the Discord, you've already seen me post that. So props to you for being in there, getting in on it early. But he's going to fucking obliterate the field with no cautions in that race. So we'll cover that on the Truck Series event. But yeah, I'm just going to advocate for that now as well. And then also for the Cup Series, back to that, I'm going to give out one long shot because love my long shots. Hit Ross Chastain 40-1 last year as my toss the extra long shot in there. Worked out pretty good. Alex Bowman, again, if you're in the Discord, props to you because I said I liked him at 25-1. He's already dropped most places to 18-1. I found him one place at 20-1 still. So go get on him soon. He's already getting bet down. He finished second here last year. He was in that 3-car battle to win this race, and he's proven to be a pretty decent road course racer. Again, he gets slept on a lot in that Hendrick camp, and we've seen him already show up a few times so far this season. He's going to be in that Truck Series race as well. He's at plus 600. Might be a nice hedge off of Kyle Busch. But again, come back for the Truck Series race for that. But he's going to have that practice the day before on this track. Performed well last season in the trucks on road course. He's going to do it again here. I think it was actually at Cody. I haven't looked up truck statistics yet, but I think it was here where he had a good run. And he was very good here in Sunday's race as well. So I think at 20-1, hopefully you got him at 25-1 already. even at 18-1, if that's all you can find by the time this comes out. I really like Alex Bowman rather as the long shot. Again, he's in a Hendrick car. We know how good the Hendrick cars are. We know how good the Chevys are. He's got all of that stuff, but he's at the long shot odds. It's similar to an Austin Hill, where again he based on the car he's in, based on the talent he has, he probably shouldn't be this far down on the board, but yet they're giving him to us again. So again, I know I've been on Alex Bowman a lot so far this season, but it's come pretty close so far a couple times, and I can't pass up on him when he's this far down on the board at 20-1.
Well, he was one of the only drivers that had like all those top 10 finishes in the start of the season. So he's been a fast car all season long. It's just hasn't been able to pull it together yet. And maybe with Chase Elliott out, maybe instead of the 9 car being the benefactor of the road course attention, maybe the 48 car gets it, or even the 24 and the 48. And then
don't sleep on William Byron.
Yeah, no,
because he could get it too.
Good. All right. Well, I'm giving out Tyler Reddick as my winner at plus 1,000. It's 10-1 for Tyler Reddick to win. Again, the only reason that I did not suggest Kyle Larson, I had a feeling that we were going to do the exact same thing that we do in the F1 show and say, this is your chance to bet Kyle Larson now, because before qualifying, those odds are going to be where they're at. After qualifying, after practice, you will probably get those at 200 points less. I mean,
I think more. If Kyle Larson qualifies on the pole, he's at plus 650 right now. Likely that number shifts before qualifying even. If he ends up on the pole, it might be like plus 200. I think it will get that low because he's going to be fast in practice. He's going to look good. He's going to be fast in qualifying. And if he does qualify on the pole, it is going to just obliterate these odds. So you've got to, again, another prop of having this done early this week specifically. I think if you want to bet on Larson, I don't know that I'm going to bet on him at plus 200 at that point. There's too many things that can go wrong, even though you'll have that safety feeling of, wow, he looks good. We know he's going to look good. All right. We're telling you right now. So get it while you can before it gets obliterated. But
yeah,
back to
that's what I was saying. No, and that's exactly what I was saying. Like we were going to give you that. This is your chance. Bet Kyle Larson. If it all shakes out the way it's going to be a Max Verstappen show. But if it's not, and this is where we kind of got lucky with the F1, we said if it wasn't going to be Max Verstappen, it will be his teammate Sergio Perez. Well, I mean, Tyler Reddick is not Kyle Larson's teammate. They're not even close. They're not even the same manufacturer. But I still feel as if Tyler Reddick, I understand this 45 car has not been the perfect fit for him, but I also understand that his average finish at COTA has been 7th place in the 2 races that he's been. So he's been inside the top 10 in both COTA races that he's been at. 5th place finish last year, 9th place finish the year before. I talked about his 2 road course wins, right? He won at Indy. He won at Road America. He still had 2 top 10 finishes at both Watkins Glen and Charlotte, which means he was still within striking distance of being the race leader, being the race winner. And Tyler Reddick's a good enough driver to find himself up and around the front, no matter what kind of car he's in. And he's proven that as a really fantastic rebound over the last 2 weeks. I mean, you want to talk about starting off the season about as poorly as you can, right? 39th place finish, he wrecked out of Daytona. 34th place finish, he wrecked out of California. But he turned around in Las Vegas, got himself a nice solid 15th place finish after a miserable 34th place start. Then the next week in Phoenix, starts 12th, finishes in 3rd, an impressive 3rd place run for him. Atlanta, 16th place start, drove his way to a 5th place finish and was in all of the madness, but still kept himself clean, run in a 5th place finish. Maybe he's got something figured out. Maybe he's figured out how to drive this car and he's found the right settings for him. The team's probably been hard at work since get-go to try to get this car fit to him. He's proven road course winner. He's on a momentous streak, right, with the 3rd place and a 5th place finish. So maybe he's feeling good about himself heading into this weekend. I think Tyler Reddick has a lot of momentum behind him running into this. And at 10-1, I mean, again, I like the odds at 10-1 because what if he comes out and does qualify good? You're not going to see these. You'll probably see this at 700. You may even see it at 600, depending on the dip. So I think you grab Tyler Reddick now before he has a good showing in practice and a good showing at qualifying.
Yeah, and if you think he's going to show up with speed, same thing, because if he comes out and he's one of the fastest cars, they're going to be like, oh shit, he won a bunch of road course races last year, and whoop, there goes the odds. Like, they are going to drop quickly on him as well. There's certain guys at the top here, specifically. I think those three really. It's going to be Larson, Reddick, and Busch, that their odds will adjust more than anyone else's if they're fastest. Yeah, if a guy like Daniel Suarez comes out and he's the fastest, sits on the pole like he did last season, his odds will drop, but not as drastically as these guys as will. And you would still be able to get a decent price there. But I think that you're on track there as far as if you think Toyota has it figured out. And again, needed some cardboard help, but a Toyota did win a road course last season. So it's not like they were completely held out. I talked about Kyle Busch, how he had some good runs in Toyota last season, even though he was on his way out of Toyota, and they were giving him crap cars half the time. So it's not beyond beyond reasonable that he could do well. And we saw it last season. I mean, he proved like he's serious and he's showing up. So I think if he at least has a decent car, he's already proven to be an excellent driver on the road courses. I mean, Road America had him at 25-1 there too, by the way. We hit big on road courses last season. That was fun. But I mean, he outdueled Chase Elliott at the end of that. Like, he outraced the guy who's typically respected as the best road course racer. So, and that was just straight up beat him. So he's proven he can do it if the Toyotas are at least improved a little. I think that he's the guy over any of the other Toyotas that really could get it done. So I don't hate that one either.
Yeah, I just think driver is going to go a long way. Driver input into this car is going to go a long way into him being there at the finish. All right, time to get out your pen and paper. Let's go over the bets that we laid out for the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. Cody started you out with either the winner of stage 1 to win the race or the winner of stage 2 to win the race. The winner of stage 1 to win the race is at plus 350. The winner of stage 2 to win the race is at plus 325. Bet them both. I think either one of them have a really good shot at cashing.
Maybe both.
Maybe both. In fact, you're absolutely right. I gave you AJ Allmendinger as a top 3 at plus 350. I tossed in a little bonus of a Quinella of Larson and Dinger. I mean, I think it's going to end up being Larson and Dinger if it is 1-2. But who knows? Maybe Dinger's there at the end, and we get plus.
Probably bet it both ways. It's probably even more if you do it the other way.
No, Quinella doesn't matter.
Is it the same? Oh, I got. Oh, so it's okay. I got.
Either
oh yeah,
way.
exact. It would be.
Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yep. So 22-1 for that Quinella. And then Cody gave you Larson as a top 5 car. That's probably easy money right there at plus 135. I gave you Buescher as a top 10 car at minus 120. Cody followed that up with Kyle Busch over Tyler Reddick at minus 120. And then I gave you Denny Hamlin over Brad Keselowski at minus 115. I think I'm loving the Toyotas a little more than I probably should, but oh well. And then Cody and I are going to have to figure out a good side bet for this one. It's Jimmy.
Here's my Toyota love.
Yeah, this is your Toyota love. Well, it's Jimmy Johnson pit up against Ty Gibbs. I've got the Jimmy side. Cody's got the Gibbs side. We'll see who's victorious at the end of it. Me. And then Cody followed it up with Harvick. It's a top 10 car at plus 155, top 4 at plus 800. I gave you the winning car number over 30 or more, really, at plus 225. And then, of course, Cody said Kyle Larson, which I fully back as well at plus 650. Kyle Busch at plus 800. Kyle Bowman at 20-1 to win. And I'm throwing in Tyler Reddick at 10-1 to win this race.
I like it. I think it's going to be might have to break out the chalk for the recap show, but I'm really feeling a chalky week this week. Man, we'll see. It depends how it goes. If we get the late race cautions again, good. Best of luck to you at that point, because it's going to be that gif with Elmo in the flames where everything's just fucking burning down. That's pretty much what it's going to look like. But hopefully that's not the case.
Indeed. All right. Well, again, this is a lovely drive through Austin, Texas for 3 miles that we're ready for. And like I said, hopefully this early episode gets you some good value on your bets. I know a lot of folks don't like value, but whatever, we'll give it to you anyways. And obviously continue on with us throughout the week in the Discord. We'll fine tune these bets. We'll update the odds. This show, yes.
Of any weeks to be in the Discord, like, for more information, now's a good time to get in there, because we're going to learn a lot in practice and in qualifying. And that, I mean, potentially that could add a bunch of bets that we end up adding if there's still some head-to-heads out there that seem super lopsided, winners, top positions. I mean, I think we could be very heavily influenced by practice and qualifying. I'm going to stand by these bets that we've given out and place them early in the week, because I think there's a lot of good value, but I think there's a potential to add a lot more, or maybe just reinforce what we already said too. But I think there's the potential to add a lot more. So you're going to want to get in the Discord. Again, that link is in everything. Hit us up on Twitter or whatever. You can find it. And yeah, it's a great place to be. A lot of fun, a lot of chit chat throughout the races and even throughout the week. I mean, it's been active even today.
Pop in, tell us you love us, tell us you hate us, whatever. we're up for anything.
Tell us you'd rather pay somebody for your picks, whatever.
It's all good. We're not going to tell you how to live your life, but we will tell you our favorite bets and hope you tail us and win some money alongside of us. All right, Cody, let's wrap things up and tell everybody where they can find us on social media. You go first.
Yes, find me on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb. Just locked in all my Sweet 16 picks for basketball over there with Tally Sites. So you can find those over on my Twitter. And yeah, all my other works there as well.
Follow him. He's a multifaceted man. Not only does he do racing, but he does football, basketball. We haven't gotten him on what's that one?
Australian rules football.
Oh no, but I'm let's go G Long.
I know you're trying to get me on there.
I know I am. All right. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's in between media. It's all right there for you. We'll be back again tomorrow with probably Xfinity, whatever the books give us. I'm sure it's Xfinity. We'll come back with Xfinity.
Yeah, trucks are starting to come out, so we'll see what we get. Depends.
We'll figure it out. But anyways, thanks for hanging with us. We'll be back again tomorrow with some more. And until next time, let's go racing and let it ride.